Good morning. It's Monday at the time of this recording, and my voice is getting better. I'm feeling much better. And we have some cows across the way. It's a chilly morning here in the bluegrass. So the cows are probably really enjoying it, as we've had near 90-degree weather a few days this week, and it's been hot and humid, even in May. So this time of year is always dynamic in Kentucky. So, and not just Kentucky, a lot of this area of the country. So Ecclesiastes 11 is where I landed this morning. I read 11 and 12. Solomon's final words are, at the end of the day, we don't understand it all. So wisest decision is to respect the Lord and live accordingly. And just, pray that it all does matter, even if you don't understand it or don't fully see the meaning or, all of that. So, but 11, the first, 5 or 6 verses is about the uncertainties of life and the wisdom of diversifying your investments, planting your crops, not waiting for perfect weather. The perfect person who waits for the perfect weather will never plant anything. As a recovering perfectionist, I can, analysis paralysis has trapped me many times. And then the opportunity passes, and then it's like, oh, crap. So, yep, I've had the consequences of that more times than I would like to admit, but trying to learn new ways and be wise now and just do something. Done is better than perfect is my new motto. And, but what really caught my attention was verse 3, and it's a 2-part verse. And first when I read it, I thought maybe it's related. I think all of the first 5 verses are kind of related. But it says that when the clouds are full, the rains will come. Like, it's just the cycle of life. And they have a limit, and then the rains come down. And then whatever is on the ground, we experience this all the time in Kentucky this time of year. April showers, right? Bring May flowers. So rain falls, but then that's what the earth needs. It takes it and does what it can with it, and then releases moisture back. We know the cycle of water and clouds, and that happens. But then it said, and I think this was kind of meant separately, that when a tree falls, it can fall north or south, but it falls where it is. Like, you can't change that. Like, let's look at this tree here. Looks like it's actually might fall. I think it's completely dead. Probably needs to be chopped down. So if this tree can fall that way or that way, but that's it. Like, the trunk is where it is. It can only fall where it stands. So I was like, what does that mean? Like, as far as, because, these are all metaphors for us to learn and glean something from. And I meditated on it. I'll share what it meant to me. And then maybe if I have time, I did do a little research afterwards. And I found that, a few people actually agreed with me. And a few saw it a different way. So that's that's how dynamic the Word of God is. It's living, breathing, active. It can mean many different things. And whenever you're reading it and whatever's going on in your life and whatever God needs you to learn is what it can mean to you. So, so when a tree falls, I thought of, well, that's what a life is. Like whatever condition the tree is in at the time it falls, doesn't matter if it falls north or south. There's the condition of the tree, but also where it is at the time. And so that's why I titled today, like, where do you stand? Because think about somebody that you love, or maybe you haven't. It's just somebody that comes to mind and that has passed. And what are your memories associated with them? And how do you remember and think of them? Because what you focus on about their life and what they stood for in life is the legacy that they leave behind. Like, they can't leave behind a legacy of something that they didn't stand for and go off completely in a different place. And your memories of them should also reflect that in the impact that they left on you, and then maybe even how they've influenced you. Like the fruit of their life, the circumstance. And I have had, unfortunately, quite a few, my family has had quite a few suicides through especially one branch of the family, and which is interesting because I think of all of these people that I loved very much and who lived pretty good lives at some point, like they were productive citizens, loved by many, well liked, but how they got remembered oftentimes is that last moment where they were standing and the condition of their life at that time and where they fell. And that is like their legacy, that like it's hard to untangle that. Anybody that has dealt with either suicide or maybe somebody that's died from alcoholism or drug abuse, like some sort of lifestyle choice that leaves just complications for the family members left behind. And it's hard to think about their life and their impact without that being included, right? Hey, good morning. Good morning. And so that can be a lesson to you if you stop and think about it and let it influence you and teach you in a good way. Or you can, say, well, what does it matter anyway? Well, either way, it's going to influence you because you'll think that it matters or that it doesn't, that it can teach you something or it doesn't. But that person fell where they stood at that point in their life and when the rains came or the winds. And what does that mean for, the environment around it? Like a fallen tree can create a whole new ecosystem, or it can just decay and rot. And there's so many different ways you can take this metaphor. Excuse me. But, as I think about, and even my dad, who died from alcoholism, and I consider it suicide because he knew, he knew he was causing his own death, and he did it anyway, whether he felt like he had a choice or not, he did. And so and there are many illustrations out there, literally like artwork that you can see that turn a shot glass into a gun. But his brother, my two uncles, both of his brothers committed suicide. I've lost 3 men in my family, just one generation above me, to suicide. And they were all good men, but this taints their everything. Like, this is how they fell. This is what was going on. This is what took them out. And I can't not see them or ever think of them without that also being a part of it. And that's the same with all people when they pass. They either leave a good legacy or a bad legacy. That's what they mean. Like, you're either going to fall north or you're going to fall south. But you're going to fall with what you stood for and what you were and what your life meant. Like, it's going to be there on display on the forest floor. And it's going to impact the environment or people, community. And, like, think about that. Like, how do you what are you standing for? And what's going to be left behind when you fall? Because we can't control necessarily when that's going to happen. Some of us can. Some of us do. We take that power back from God and that timing, and we control it, and we take ourselves out. And those are just 3. There's a lot more in my family, but those are the 3 that are a cousin recently. And it's just the devastation that it leaves behind. Death is devastating anyway, but when a person has lived a life, how they are at the time when they fall overshadows everything, for good or for bad. And that can be a lesson for us. It is a lesson for us. They included it in the book, the big book, our life manual of the Bible. Like, think about where you're planted and what you stand for and what your life will tell. Because you can't always control if you're going to be taken out and your tree will fall in times when you're doing good or times when you're not doing so good. And that doesn't mean that if life circumstances come along and you were wealthy and now you're poor, like, that's not, like, it's about your character and how you handle life and how you're contributing to others. Like, we've all been to funerals and seen tombstones, and when people, I talked about that yesterday. Like, what's your dash gonna be about? But oftentimes, when the dash ends, that death date, what are people gonna be left with? Where have you been standing? What have you been doing? What are you leaving behind? Are you completely self-serving? Kind of nice to people sometimes, but are you caught up only in your favorite sport or team or shopping or the latest thing on Netflix, the best place to go to lunch? Like, are you doing meaningful things in the grand scheme of things? People are watching. People are paying attention. It stands for something or nothing. And whatever that is where, and when you fall, is what people are going to remember. So, I don't know. So I guess we're coming full circle from yesterday. But death, it's a part of life. It's a reality. And we can let it be our guide and teacher for wisdom and getting up and doing things that necessarily we don't always want to do, or think beyond our noses and the impact that we're leaving, because we're all people of influence and teachers and role models, whether you're signed up to be or not, unless you're living out in a hobbit hole all by yourself and you just really can't influence anybody. You are. So, what are you standing for? Because that's where you're going to fall. Or you should always act as if that fall could come and live life accordingly. Like, it's, we've all heard those sayings before. Live like it's your last day. Live like there's no tomorrow. I kind of think that's what this verse is about. Or at least that's what it means to me. And it also helps me to look at all these examples in my life still loved the person. They were doing the best they could. They were confused. They didn't know. They didn't stop and think about all these things. Maybe. I don't know. And maybe they didn't want to make that choice in the moment. And alcohol came in and made the choice for them. Or just utter confusion and despair. But I can let it be a teacher for me, and I can turn it into something good, some nourishing rain and something for my roots, to motivate me to think beyond that because of how I've been affected. And I don't want to do that to anybody else. So anyway, we all have our choices to make, and we can't always affect how we're influenced or what influences us, but we can maybe have choice about how it influences us. Maybe that's true. Okay. All right. That's my musings for the morning. This chilly morning in Kentucky. Go have a great Monday. I know I will. And just do your best. Like we can't always we can't control how people are going to take our lives and our actions. They may not understand. We can just do the best we can with what we have, and we have this book of wisdom, this life manual. If we would open it up and just ponder it, and not try to do everything in our own and figure it all out ourselves. And anyway, have a great day. Rise and shine wherever you are. If you're going to rise, you might as well shine, right? All right. Have a great day.